Very easy to install, just plug in the cables. I get gigabit transmission on most switch-to-switch and switch-to-device, if supported on device, except on one long cable, 50 meters, which gives 100 megabits. This might be improved by using a high-quality cable. I have several of these NETGEAR switches, 16-port, 8-port, and 5-port. All work very well and are monitored by the ProSafe app. Product was simple to set up. Don't need to use any of the apps NETGEAR mentioned. Just plug in and find the IP address. Rest is simple. Found IP from my router. Not used any of the other options yet. Just wanted it as running out of ports. Have it upstairs connected to power line and is fine. Well worth the money. Wish I had got the 8-port one now. The switch is small and easy to use. I needed ability to configure VLANs and this works great. The management interface is HTTP only, but for home user should be a problem. You configure it and forget. Recommend for simple setups and advanced home users who need little bit more than just dumb switch. A well-made piece of kit. Straightforward instructions. I only really needed to split my home office Ethernet between the computer and my Virgin TiVo box, so I'm probably not using a lot of its capabilities. Great value too. Easy to set up and works extremely well. Bought it because router ports fully used up and this provides me with 4 extra ports. It's marketed as a 5-port but one of the ports is dedicated to input from a router or switch. Despite the mesh Wi-Fi system I have installed in my home, I still like to have a good wired connection for some devices and I needed a small edge switch to reach into a corner of the house so I could connect up a couple of devices that had no wireless capability. As I'm a bit of a NETGEAR fanboy and have several of their managed switches already, I opted for this particular model, which at the time was cheaper than the roughly equivalent GS105E. Setting up is straightforward enough, and if you wanted you could just connect this to your network and do nothing else with it. But if you're going to do that, I'd strongly recommend you go for a cheaper unmanaged one as you're basically paying for things you're not using with this. As I like to keep a close eye on my network setup and plan to extend to using the VLAN functions at some point, mainly to segregate my home automation system, this was pretty much the best solution. They're great switches, but they aren't the easiest to work with. One of the issues I've noted is that they don't grab IP addresses from DHCP quickly enough, so they tend to go with their default IP address, which is 192. 168. 0. 239. I don't use a subnet which this address falls into, so it's not a big issue, but if your network does then you may well find you've got an address conflict. Not ideal. And if you buy more than one, you could end up with issues. Again, I believe the unmanaged switches don't have this issue as there is no need for them to have an IP address, so if you're not planning on doing anything to these then look for something else. There is an inbuilt web interface which is used to change the various settings, from the password, hint, change this straight away, to purport VLAN, goes, mirroring and a multitude of other options. Click link in description for more reviews.